tonight, huh?
Lionel, is that you?
There, I think I got it. So, okay,
What's on your hot dog?
Yeah, what's on your hot dog? That's it. That's the question.
Yeah.
We're gonna ask the question.
Or a certain
Whatever
group
will
that
do.
has 4 letters.
You don't know
Nope.
that. You have no
Nope.
idea what I'm gonna ask.
No
don't-
ketchup. Please.
Yeah, no ketchup. No ketchup. No ketchup on your hot dog. After 8 years old, you should stop putting ketchup on your hot dog.
Oh, bull crap.
What about organic ketchup?
I don't care what you call
No.
it.
Yeah, it's still red
Hot
and
dog
it's
sauce.
ketchup. It's still red and it's ketchup. You're not eating
Hot
fried.
dog sauce and a full piles of people
No,
in
no,
Chicago.
no.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, what's your favorite hot dog condiments?
My favorite hot dog with bar none is simple ketchup. Excuse me.
Ah!
See, I
Freudian
screwed that
slip.
up. No, the simple one is mustard and onions.
Ah, okay, I like that. Me, it's mustard and relish, but that's your basic game dog, mustard and onions.
Yeah, mustard and onions. And a baseball game, mustard and onion hot dog every day. Every inning.
Absolutely, yeah,
Every
exactly.
inning. Holy
Oh, yeah.
cow.
Actually, I had some good when I went to Fenway Park. I had some good hot dogs there. They understood the whole general premise of hot dogs there.
No.
Yeah, yeah. Fenway.
Although I believe I saw a photograph of that. You were wearing a funny shirt at that park there.
I was on national. I was on national TV too. My phone lit up like crazy.
And I believe you had your finger in your nose at the time.
I don't
I
know.
was just scratching.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to tell this story, Bruce. The Bruces. Okay, before we go on, we're here with Mike Deverell, who owns the Colorado and Front Range in Gig Harbor, Washington, which is west of Tacoma, Washington, which is on the other side of Puget Sound. How long is the bridge that goes over Puget Sound?
Just short of a mile. I think it might be even a little longer than a mile. But it's around that size.
Is it 2-lane or 4-lane?
It's now 2 bridges, 2 lanes or 3 lanes in each of them.
Wow. Is the population that extensive on the west side of Puget Sound?
Yeah, when I first moved to Gig Harbor, there was probably 50,000 people living over here. I dare say now the area has expanded. It's the typical urban sprawl. There's probably easily 100,000 of us over here.
And are you the mayor of Gig Harbor?
No.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I don't even live in Gig Harbor proper. I just have a Gig Harbor address.
Okay, there you go. Anyways, yeah. So anyways, he lives on the west side of Puget Sound, which is really cool. And I'm also here. Mike, allow me to introduce the crew to you. My name is Lionel, and this is my brother Bruce, and this is my other brother Bruce.
Hello, Lionel.
Yeah.
And Bruce's.
2 Bruces,
Hello.
no waiting. Bruce Kelly, the creator of the Kelly Questions, and Bruce the Mailboy.
And he's also Superfan 1.
And he's also Superfan 1, exactly.
Yes.
These aren't just any ordinary Bruces. This is Bruce
No.
This is Bruce the Mailboy, and Bruce, the creator of the Kelly Questions and the original Superfan.
And
It's not just a Mickey Mouse thing here, Mike. It's you got quality talent you're dealing with.
Yeah, exactly. This is a high dollar affair.
time out. This is Lionel and the 2 Bruces. The 2 Bruces may be high quality entertainment.
Oh,
I'm just
there's
gonna
a shot at
out
the host.
across the bow of Lionel
Right
here.
across the-
Yeah,
Sorry, folks. That's all the time we have for tonight.
yeah. That was a high, hard, fast one.
Whoa.
And you know what?
Yeah.
You know what I've done now.
Hot fast.
You know what I've done now, don't you, Mike? I've turned towards to face the pitcher, and I have the bat in my right hand, and I'm like, "Hey, what's the message here, buddy?"
Well.
And the catcher's throwing the ball back, and we're staring each other down, and we're both going.
We're gonna drain the benches here.
Yeah,
This will be fun.
Exactly.
When
All right.
baseball meets hockey.
What's that? Yeah, baseball.
Baseball meets hockey.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, we've had a series of half hour, shortly over a half hour shows. that we've mixed in with some other groups, and it's taken quite a while for us to listen to all these shows, but they're really good because I wanted to have something for the in-between weeks because I got tired of that Patreon re-release thing that seemed kind of cheesy to me. So this is what we're doing, and we've talked to Mike about his operations. We've talked to him about his laser cutter. We've talked to him about his bulletproofing the layout, which requires pushing string across a table. We've talked about
Helicopters and auto rotation.
helicopters and auto rotation. We've talked about his doing scenery in Longmont, and he hasn't heard about the woman who was shooting squirrels with the pellet gun.
True.
And and we also talked about how he installed an NCE system and how cool and how easy it is to operate.
Boy, that was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago when we were talking about the NCE stuff. That was a long time ago. It was probably last year when we were talking.
Probably.
Probably it was last year. There is no. We try to at all times hold the podcast and the AML network to the highest standards possible, which requires as much disorganization as we can.
I don't feel bad. I was noticing that I said that the plans were on my Facebook page, and they are, but they did not get into where I said they were. So we'll need to make sure that I do get that resolved.
Yes, and while we're on the subject of Facebook pages for your model railroad, is there any words of wisdom we can give Tom Jacobs to kind of spur him on to creating a Facebook page for his railroad? Because I'm like yourself, Michael. You also have a YouTube channel, but I'm not sure we want to see Tom Jacobs on video, so let's not go quite that far. But you have this great YouTube channel, and you also have this great Facebook page that makes your layout accessible to all people all over the world.
It's true, and and the only reason why I really started the Facebook page was originally I had a website. And it was kind of one of those Google websites, and it got to be too cumbersome to keep it up, where a Facebook page was by far much more easier for me.
Super easy. You just take the picture and stick it on the Facebook page with your phone.
You're right. That's all it really takes.
You could be walking through Costco looking for something you can post on your Facebook page, and there's a little boy dressed in a lion outfit for Halloween, and you could stop and ask his mother, "Can I have my picture taken with your son?" Boom. Boom. You got yourself a posting for Facebook.
I did see that.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm not sure if this is... Nah, I'm not going to say it. Because now I've said it. Now I'm not going to say it, so now everybody's wondering.
Yeah.
You can always edit it out.
Nah, yeah, everything, it'll all be edited out. Here's a little tip for you that I've actually started to have, and I try not to have this because tomorrow actually is the day I go for my 6-month update. I don't call it a checkup because it's not a checkup. It's my 6-month update on my progress of my cancer. And so I don't like doing that at all. So the best way to take my mind off it is to talk to Mike Deverell and the two Bruces. But anyways, I was...
There you go. And we're glad you're here to talk.
Yeah, and
we are glad that you're here to talk about it.
It beats walking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It beats walking every day of the week, right?
Yeah, exactly. That was another one of my... That's the one problem I've discovered with the stage 4 cancer and carrying on as I have is when I was walking through Costco, I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm going to put. Here's a tip for all you kids that are going to get cancer and don't decide you're going to post every day on Facebook. Because that can become quite cumbersome after a while. When you get into the over 1,000 days, some days you're kind of going, what am I going to post today? But actually, I really do enjoy it. So, all right. So, yes?
As do we.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Actually, I do enjoy it. It was really weird. Once I got to 1,000 days, that just stoked me somehow. Putting that 1 and the comma just stoked me. Anyways, enough of that talk, because I don't like talking about it anyways, so I shouldn't have brought it up, which is why originally I said, I won't talk about it.
And this is how they end up being 4 hour
Exactly. So you have a video channel,
I do.
which is quite successful, and you put a lot of work into your videos.
I sure try to, but I have to be honest. The last two or so I did, I have to almost apologize. Matter of fact, I think I was on your spin-off podcast,
Okay.
and I have dyslexia, and so sometimes I have to really kind of get my thoughts together before I do videos
Right.
and podcasts. And if you catch me on the spur of a minute and I don't prepare, I tend to make a lot of mistakes and babble on aimlessly without meaning.
Right. I don't.
And sometimes I feel that a couple of the last videos I did that on, and I really apologize to everybody because I feel like I did, and I'm like, really, you just get, sometimes you just don't realize what you're doing. That's all I'm saying. And so that was kind of one of those, that was a mistake.
Well, you know what? I'm going to say the same thing that I said to Bob Sprague. Bob Sprague is the fellow that designed Tom Jacobs' layout. Tom Jacobs is the fellow we were talking about that we would really like him to start a Facebook page because he's building this 32-level layout in a
multi-story building.
Yeah, a multi-story building in a 60 by 72-foot building. But we interviewed Bob Sprague, who's the guy, and he has this website, this really cool website called Bob's Plans, Bob's Train Plans or something like that. What the heck was it? Bob's
Track Plans or
Bob's Track Plans. That's what it was.
Yes.
Bob's Track Plans, and it's a beautiful website with all kinds of track plans done to a very high quality. And he started to say, well, some of them are kind of repetitive, or I'm not sure how. And I said to him, I will say the same thing to you, Mike, that I said to Bob. You are doing a great service for the hobby, so you should not apologize at all, because the amount of work you put in these videos is doing the hobby a great service, and you should be very, very proud of all the effort and work you've put into it, because people get a lot out of this stuff. So don't ever apologize, because you're doing the hobby a great service, as are many other people who do this sort of thing now. But, to be able to follow along on the building, the construction of a layout this size with the amount of ability that you have is really doing everybody a great service. So don't ever, ever apologize again, because I completely disagree. I think you're doing a great thing for the hobby. So there you go.
Well, I appreciate it. Like I said, there's times where I kind of just realize I use a lot, and it's because I haven't prepared as well as I'd like to. And that's, and I'm not a professional broadcaster.
No.
Not like you, Lionel.
Neither am I. That's why. not even, like I watch your videos. I enjoy them. I always, I keep up with them because you actually are you give out a lot of really good information. So I don't want to ever hear you ever apologize again. Just carry on as you are, and you trust me, you're doing this the hobby a great service.
I will do that then.
So while we were on the subject of videos and YouTube, you got involved with the NMRA. I
did.
And how's that going? You were in charge of their YouTube channel.
I wouldn't say I'm in charge of it, but I basically, one of the things that I do when I'm sitting in a hotel working on researchers' times or trying to come up with ideas, I watch, and I don't watch TV for the most part. So I watch probably a good, 5, maybe 6 hours of YouTube videos a week. And so I basically am going through videos that I either, and I've kind of broke them up into different organizations. Like there's just videos that are about touring the layout. So I kind of have a group that says touring the layouts. I have, there's some videos that are just about train run-bys, and they might be really interesting. So I have videos like that. So some of the shows or things like that, I go ahead and put them on there, just run-bys. And those ones, maybe the sound isn't that great, but it's kind of neat to see the trains just running by. There's some really good weathering and things like that. There's a section on how-tos, and I look at how-to videos. And if it's and I've kind of broken that up into a new category that came out of there, which is really cool ideas. And there are some people that have been very, very creative in model railroading that I just have really kind of enjoyed. And if you take a look at them, I have, I think, 1 or 2 videos on somebody that has built clouds and thunderheads, and they have LEDs in it, and they're flashing and lighting up.
Oh, geez, I was just looking at it. Starts with Lionel. It's your favorite word. Coquina.
Carquinhas.
Carquinhas.
I think it's one of those down there. Yeah.
And so I just peruse through videos, and if somebody sends me a video and I think it's really good, and really good is a very broad term for me, because I'm like you, Lionel. I mean, everyone should be inclusive in the railroad, and if there's a really good idea, it may not be the most refined video out there, but if they're portraying a very good idea, I think it's worth sharing, because everybody needs to see different ideas. We all use different techniques.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot. So you've made quite a headway on this channel then.
Yeah, I think there's now, I'm thinking there's close to 175 videos in there.
Well done.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that. And to understand, I try not to, like, there are some people that I follow myself personally. I think Mark Dance's N-scale layout is absolutely fantastic. And I could watch Mark Dance's operations and him running and describing his layout for hours. What am I saying? I do. And so I put a few of Mark's up there, and that was kind of what the goal was not to just shove all these people's videos just long. I just trying to give a flavor so that people, if they end up getting interested in that person or that channel, they can follow them from there.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, and have you watched the videos from start to finish?
Yeah, all of them.
Wow. Wow. And do you have any help with this, or are you a one-man show, or?
I'm not sure if anyone else is adding any on there, but I would say that I'm probably, if there is somebody else, I'm unaware of it. But for the most part, most of the videos I've seen are videos that I've watched. Okay.
So what happens is when you post a video up there, if they want to see more of Mark Dance's videos, they just you post a direct link basically to the video.
Well, they can so when the video comes up, they see the channel that's there. Right. So they can just click on that author's channel, and then they can subscribe to that channel. Or, as a matter of fact, I think when the video's up, they can just subscribe to that channel.
Right, exactly.
So, like Luke Town, I think you guys interviewed Luke Town.
Yep, we did.
I have a couple of his videos up. Mark of Sweden, who is in Europe, he's got a lot of energy, but he does some really good videos. I subscribe to him. Kathy, of course, who's on the National Model Railroaders board, and I love Kathy. I could watch Kathy's videos. There's some things I'm not excited. I'm the little Kathy's I could do without, but that's fine. I could skip that and go on my way. They're on the end, but Kathy does some really good videos. Scale Model Trains, which is a gentleman that is modeling the same area I am. He's got a couple really good videos. As a matter of fact, I just started subscribing to Mike Rose Hobbies. Now, I've followed Mike quite a bit from the Scotty and Mike podcast. And I followed Mike for...
Whoa. Back up a couple of stops there. There's other podcasts?
Yeah.
How long has this been going on?
They're probably spin-offs. They wanted to be. Actually, I hate to disappoint you, Lionel. I believe they could claim the fame to be the original podcast.
I believe they are. I think Scotty Mason is the original guy. He's the number one.
I believe so.
He is, and he's a fun guy to listen to. Absolutely,
he is, and I love listening to their podcast. I will admit, that I miss not having the 5 hours with the 4 of them on there, because I could really. I was a marathon listener, so
you love
but-
you love listening to Scotty Mason.
no, I like listening to Mike Rose talk about his layout.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we don't want Scotty's head to get too big.
Yeah, exactly. So, I follow Mike, and so I've been kind of following some of his stuff. Another Canadian that actually has a funny Toronto Blue Jay looking thing on his Mizuko Steve.
Mizuko Steve.
Muskoka. Mizuko Steve.
Right, and has he got any? Are there any of the videos?
He's got some fantastic. He's got some great videos.
And are some of those on your NMRA channel?
They are.
Okay.
There's a couple of them in how-tos. He's got a couple really good how-tos. He's got some really great buildings and some fantastic concrete work that he's done. Really good stuff.
So, okay, let me just go over it again. So how do you find these? This is you finding them, or primarily people send you suggestions, or primarily you're scouring the internet for them?
I'm scouring YouTube channels looking for videos. If somebody sends me a link, fine. But I probably, like I say, I have an addiction. I'll be the first to admit it. I watch all the military model builders, because I think they have some great painting techniques. I watch a lot of, I don't know if are you familiar with miniatures?
Yes.
Game miniatures? There's a lot of folks that build game boards, and they do scenery, and I follow them for scenery ideas.
Right.
So I watch a ton of those type of videos, and so when I see something, I'll put it up there. Now I haven't put up some of the scenery stuff and the military model stuff up on the National Model Railroaders channel, because people are going there for model railroading.
Right.
But I follow those guys because that's how I get additional new ideas. And then I'm constantly scouring. I mean, I'll sit in YouTube some days. I'll sit down and I'll just type in model railroading scenery, or model railroading trees, or building a river, or something like that. And I'll just scour through hours of videos trying to find them.
Right.
And if their videos have a lot of background noise, really hard to listen to, they might be showing something really good. I more than once have sent a message to them privately saying, hey, I'd really like to put your video up, but it's disruptive to hear all the chattering in the background. And I understand they might be doing a layout tour or something like that, and it really gets distracting. And I wish that they would just, maybe put it to just some music,
okay,
something like that, because sometimes there's really great stuff to see, but it's when there's so much chatter in the background, nobody could possibly hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the problems with this podcast sometimes, is there's just way too much chatter.
Yes, sir?
Yeah. That's
Should
cool.
we all talk together at the same time?
Yeah, hey, we could do that before the night's over. Absolutely.
On 3, 2, 1, we just keep going.
That's exactly how it works.
That's how it works. And then whenever
and
it
works
says,
every time we try it.
and the bartender said, "Hey, that's not a duck."
You're right. It's not.
So another great service you're providing the hobby. Like, oh my goodness, here's a question. Okay, so you're involved. I'm telling you, we had this podcast there some time ago with the Charlie Getz and Christina Ganser, and they were very fun to talk to, and it was great to have them on the podcast. But I seem to be the only one in the room. I'm not the only one in the room, but I'm convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt this hobby's growing like crazy. And I think it's things like YouTube that are doing it.
I think that is very much the case. Matter of fact, something that, not to really pipe Mike Rose's horn or anything like that, but, one of the things that he has been doing is he's doing a lot of the custom sound work on the locomotives. And one of the things he found with YouTube that he could do is he could have it all set up with all the sounds and everything he wants. And then he shoots a video of it so that the customer can see the sounds and how it's working.
Wow.
So if the customer wants to make some changes or something like that, they can actually see it. So this is changes in the hobby that, you're sending. This is what's changed in the hobby. I can now send my locomotives to Mike Rose, who's on the East Coast in the north, in the upper east, northeast United States. Send him stuff. He can do the work on it. Shoot me a video of it, and I can see it.
Yeah, you can see it with relatively low expense to anybody.
Exactly, and you're seeing a change in the hobby, and this is exactly you and me have had many discussions of technology changes in this hobby, and I'm one of the adopt every early technology I can find.
Right.
And you kind of are like, it's 2 wires, Mike. I really don't want to make any more change than DCC. And I don't disagree with that. I'm not saying that that's what everybody wants to do, but this is the changes in the hobby that the National Model Railroad Association, and I'm a member, and I want it to succeed. I'm working to help it succeed. But it is one of the aspects in which I stand back and go, it's not a club anymore, guys.
No.
It's a community.
Yeah.
A club is what you do, where you have people come to you and you pay dues and somebody's in charge and they all sit down and say, this is what we're doing. And we're all going to sit in our little room and this is what we're doing. And it's like, no, the hobby is so much bigger these days.
So much
The
bigger.
amount of stuff that we can share and do through the internet. We talked about operations. We talked about, even rebuilding my laser. I learned a lot of this stuff. Yeah, I do it for a job, but understand, I've never worked on lasers that cut things. So to do that, I had to go to the YouTube channels and learn, okay, how does this laser work? What am I doing? What am I getting involved in? And then from that, I, went step and said, okay, this is a project I can take on.
Yeah, it's the same with me. Go ahead, Bruce. You were going to say something?
I was just going to say, Mike touched upon the club thing there. I think the NMRA has missed the fact that the A stands for association, which is really, when you think about it, it's a group of like-minded people who are doing model railroading, and they're kind of running it like the old school club. I am going to do this, and that's the way we do it. And they're missing out on the fact that things are different these days. That it's get back and recall what an association is and why it's there, and it's to get like-minded individuals in contact with each other. And the way they're doing that these days is on the internet, Facebook and social media, YouTube, web pages, everything like that. It's such a great opportunity that they're starting to figure it out. And, hopefully they'll realize that.
Well, it's a great example of what you're talking about, Bruce. I got, matter of fact, had a request to join our Facebook page today, and somebody, sent a message then afterwards saying, hey, I've been following you on the YouTube channel, really like your videos, and want to follow what you're doing. Okay, in the time when we were in our 30s, I safely say that I know the age of everybody here, so I know that we're all a little older than. We're younger than most Model Railroad Association, according to certain individuals, so how old they are. And we're in a demographic that's leaning towards that direction. So when we were 25 and 30 years old, we didn't have home computers.
No.
And so if Lex Parker was designing a layout and building the layout, and I can remember seeing his layout in Model Railroad magazine and Railroad Modeler, which was the first magazine I bought. I didn't buy Model Railroad at first. I bought Railroad Modeler first.
Right.
And I can remember seeing Lex Parker's layouts, and I was blown away by those older layouts that he was building. And today, you get the advantage of seeing people actually building them. Not seeing photographs of the finished work, or seeing, if you do this all right, this is what it could look like. You're seeing, what I did a video on how to paint backdrops, and I admitted on the second video of it, this is version 8 of this painting the backdrop.
Yeah. Oh.
In other words, I made 7 attempts and failed to achieve what I wanted.
Yeah.
But the version I have now, and I look at it with the layout and the photographs of it with the trains in front of it and the grass done in the scenic areas, I'm like, perfect. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, there's so much information available. Like I'm convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt we're on the edge of the precipice of a renaissance in the hobby, because there's so much connectivity with so many people. I've learned so much about the hobby since I started the podcast and met so many people. It's just like, I can't even imagine how many people I would know had this been 30 years ago. And
yeah.
Well,
And
look at
the
go ahead,
connectivity.
Bruce.
Yeah, the connectivity thing is. I've got an example. Is that a number of years ago, be on one of the Yahoo groups, small layout design or something. I'm yipping away about the railroad I'm interested in Britain, called the Cum Valley Light Railway, the Cum Valley branch, and talk about how I'm modeling whatever, and then some guy in Australia mentions something about something or other. And then about a week and a half later, I'm home at lunch and getting ready to head back to work, and the mailman comes up and hands me this big mailing tube, and I'm going, all right, I'm trying to figure what the hell I've ordered now, right? I see it's from the UK, so what the hell did I order from the UK? Well, I get in there, some guy on that group worked for the county of Devon in the roads department, and he had access to the old mapping of the thing I'm modeling. So he, in this tube, there's an OS map sheet that's probably about 7 feet long, and
Wow.
And then another photo of the area today, airfold, and then this guy just sent it to me out of the blind. I heard you talking about this. I got the sheets. Here you go. And there's how things happen. Like from talking to guys wherever they were around the world, and this guy just pops it up. And there you go. And that's the great part of where this hobby is going right now.
A great story following that same thing. I posted a video about one of the bridges I was building on the railroad, and somebody caught the video, and he was the engineer who designed the new bridge, and he sent me the county's old drawings and pictures of the bridge from 1959.
Sweet.
So I have, out of the blue, I never even met this guy. He says, "Oh, hey, I saw this, and I was the engineer that worked on this. Here, I'm sending you these photos." There were just some PDFs, probably 6 PDFs of the bridge and everything, so I could actually see the bridge and how it was built.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the age we're in now. Like, it's nothing to the West Coast here chatting, and 2 guys in Central Ontario, and it's the beauty of the way the communication and everything is now. Everybody can get together. There's lots of great people out there sharing their ideas and information, and that's what's going to make this hobby grow even more than anything.
And that's what the hobby's always been about, is the fellowship.
Exactly.
Really. That's
the association of like-minded people that are doing their thing.
And I think maybe, Bruce, you've stumbled onto it, is they've lost that idea. It's like, they could get all kinds of members if they lowered the membership, and for 1995, like I've said to Shane 1,000 times, if it was 1995, it was like, okay, this is the place where we all hang out. So throw in your 1995, and this is where you don't get much for it other than we're all together.
Yeah, you $20 would be half of what we're paying now, and you would double the membership or more.
Or more, because you would just say, because everybody would just join just to be part of it.
And to encourage other people. And I listen to the podcast, and I don't want to say anything bad because I don't want to get on anyone's bad side, but there's just certain things that I just stand back and go, look at. I know for a fact that I have umpteen zillion years. Great example, Bruce. I think it was that you contacted me, or you sent a message out saying, "Hey, does anyone have this article on the timetable and train orders?"
Yes.
And I said, "Yeah, I have those magazines. Hang on, let me get them for you."
Yeah.
And I simply photographed those in a PDF format and sent them off to you so you could take a look at them.
Exactly.
Now,
Yeah, you and Morgan Pavia also did that, and then I had those articles so I could see what everybody was talking about, and that's that's the beauty of the way it is. Yeah,
and I just stand back and go, I understand why they're worried about copyright, but I'm standing back going, look, we're in a world today where digital magazines, nobody is going to be concerned about model railroading rights to an article. We're trying to share information and grow this hobby and learn.
Yeah.
And this,
I could see, and they got to keep it tightened down by security, but there's nothing stopping any NMRA member right now from taking the magazine, reading it, then handing
Passing
it to
it on.
buddy down at the club or some of that, and something, or taking it to the doctor's office and putting it there, so the guy who's in there with his kid doesn't have to read Chatelaine or L or.
And I would make an argument. The biggest argument I have with going digital more than anything else, matter of fact, I've canceled I no longer have a subscription to a paper magazine. If you're selling me a Model Railroad paper magazine, I have ended all my subscriptions. I am no longer getting them. Because on Model Railroad Hobbyist, I can get a digital. I can simply go to the website, type in what I'm looking for, find the article that I'm looking for, go to that particular PDF and pull it up, and I can do it. Bruce, it took me probably 12 hours to get that to you, because I had to actually go through all those years trying to find which magazine was. I couldn't just go to the computer, type in train order and timetable, Mark Dance, and pull it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you were saying. Now, the only difference between you and me is that you say when you're searching YouTube for videos, you're putting in how to build a river.
Yeah.
I type in Russian car crash videos.
There you go.
It doesn't help with the model railroading, but it's entertaining.
I'll tell you what, I have a few addictions to a few non-model railroading. I love Adam from Mythbusters. He's got a YouTube channel called Tested. I am addicted to listening to Adam build things, and some of the best things. Let me soup up a Nerf gun.
Yeah, well, yeah. And you were talking
Why
about
not?
Yeah, you were talking about how Mike Rose, will work on a locomotive and send a video to somebody. And I mean, that's how James Wright, YouTube model railroad sensation James Wright, that's how he started. He was so new in the hobby, he was making videos to send to his cousin so he could look at him and tell him what he was doing right or wrong. And then he did a review or something of a couple of things. That was all it was. It was an innocent that way. And now he's got 32,000 subscribers or something, and just crazy. And it's like, I can't understand. We'll get off this subject, but I can't understand how the NMRA can have these blinders on about. I
don't think it's blinders. I think they're just worried about things that they used to be worried about. And I'm not going to pick on Charlie in particular, because I don't think Charlie's the only one in the group that follows along this mindset. I think there's a lot of people that are still living in the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, and that's just not what model railroading is about anymore.
No.
We're all trying to achieve a certain amount of excellence in our layouts. And matter of fact, I just saw a new article that I just picked up from Model Railroad Hobbyist on one of the blogs there. This guy has a method I've never seen of making fir trees. And they look absolutely, I was blown away. And I live in fir tree country. And I was like, finally, somebody built a fir tree that looks like a fir tree.
Yeah.
And I just was like sitting down and just reading his different articles. And now this becomes a person that I will constantly be going to his blogs to see what's going on.
Yeah, it's endless. Like, they need to just, I'm telling you, I'm convinced. I am convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt, and I don't care if people are getting tired of me saying it, this hobby is exploding right before our eyes.
I have a question for you next time when you're talking to Joe Fugate.
Right.
About when your end of year show that you do.
Right.
The question I have for you is, I'd like you to ask him, how many members have posted a post on the blog?
Yeah.
Not, or let's go one step farther. The next question would be, how many posts are on the blog?
Yeah, that would be the question. Holy moly.
Because you sit down and think that there are some people who routinely post on a regular basis. You know, there certainly are. But I'd be interested to see how many members are actively posting at least one post a year. You understand what I'm saying? You want to know how active and how vibrant the hobby is? I think it's a small slice of the pie, but I'd like to know how big is that slice? But then followed up, how much information has been shared?
Yeah.
What, Joe's 7, 8 years now? 8 years?
Yeah. One of the best compliments I ever received about this podcast was from, we were cutting him up on another one there, but Mike Wachowski, he lives in Green Bay. Green Bay. It's the home of the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Anyways, he drives back and forth from Green Bay to Sheboygan for his job. And he says he's learned more about the hobby listening to this podcast than he has in the last 20 years. And he's an avid model railroader. And I mean, for him to say that to me, I was just blown away. I was so, I was touched that he would say that. But imagine, you're putting in some work and people are saying, yeah, I've learned more about the hobby listening to your podcast. And it's like, it's just me asking people questions. But there are so many people out there that have so much information to share. Now
there are.
And now this way we've connected, we're allowed to connect, and it's great. I mean, like on my website, I use Weebly for the podcast website, and I post whenever I put up a new episode, I post it on Model Railroad Hobbyist Forum there, blog, and, like just right now, I'm looking at it right now, and I had 86 unique visitors on October 17th. And if you scroll down, 108 views from the last week have been from Model Railroad Hobbyists.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be the first to admit that when I post a video, I usually post it to my Facebook page first for the railroad. So I give those people that subscribe a chance to look at it first. And then usually, probably, the next day I hit, the podcast pages and I hit Model Railroad Hobbyist. The number one direction to my podcast is Model Railroad Hobbyist.
Yeah.
Mm.
Second is people just looking up model railroading.
Yeah, I got the same thing here. My second, I guess what I'm looking at is for a period of 7 days, and I got 108 from Model Railroad Hobbyists, and Google, people looking up model railroading is second. And Model Railroad Hobbyist is always at the top. And that's from just...
Yeah.
It's just simply posting something, on the blog. I say episode 83, episode 84, and it just put the same thing that I put on my Facebook page.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
the other thing that's scary is for me is the number third thing that they look up, and that's my name.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm being a nuisance.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing, right? Like you can't, if you're going to embrace social media, like my secretary, she loves social media too. And I mean, we have the discussions all the time. Like I've posted for 1,145 days straight. Nobody's taken my personal information or my license. It's like, it's what you post. You don't need to.
Yeah.
You don't need to tell everybody your driver's license number.
No. And that's exactly it. I mean, the reason why they probably look up my name as the third most is because the channel's got my name on it.
Exactly.
Right.
It's the same thing. And I mean, it's just, it's not something to be, that's what seems the NMRA seems to be afraid of. It's not something to be afraid of. It's, it's no different than driving a car. if you're going to go faster than the speed limit, then you realize you're taking your chances, and you gotta adjust accordingly. You can't just go about doing anything willy nilly.
No, and I realize that there's a lot of concerns and a lot of different things, and I just in many ways I'm more interested in sharing information. We talked about it earlier. You mentioned it in the beginning of the podcast that I have nothing to be ashamed of my videos. The truth of the matter is that I would rather share my video and maybe help one person than not to share my video and help no one.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Good.
Like I'm not even close to a professional broadcaster. I mean, like the show, the podcast is listenable. We have lots of fun. We have lots of characters. People like talking on it. But let's not kid ourselves here. It's not anywhere near professional, but it's fun to listen to. And that's the only attitude you got to have.
Yeah.
Make it, my big thing as I've worked on it through the years is to make the audio as clear as possible so it's enjoyable to listen to and it's not a strain. But beyond that, it's like, if people don't like my personality, which I don't really have, then don't listen. There's no point, there's no point in being anything other than who you are. Just carry on, just be who you are, and the people that want to be part of it will be part of it, and the people that don't, there's no way you can please everybody in the world.
Then nor should you try to.
No, it's not possible. It's just not possible.
I mean, you and me have talked about it. I'm like, what effort did it take for you to give a thumbs down to video? And I'm like, I used to take it personal. Now I'm like, okay, if there's a lot of thumbs down, maybe I'll look at the video and say, what am I doing wrong here? Or what did I say that's just creating a problem?
Yeah.
Or I'll look at it and say, okay, so let me get this straight. 75 people liked it and 2 didn't.
Yeah. Exactly. You're
okay.
You're always going to find detractors. Some people do it just because.
Yeah.
And it's like, I always make the joke, but it's kind of like, if you don't like it, well, then either join the NMRA and, like they always say they need volunteers. Well, sure. Or nowadays you have the opportunity to start your own channel. Like I see one of your videos on the NMRA channel is from Andy Dorsch. I mean, Andy's a classic example of what the NMRA should be. He gets involved, he digs in, gets involved, makes his own videos, and puts some effort into it. Yeah. That's all it is. That's all it is. Just enjoy the friggin' hobby. And it's like, it's frustrating the way they're doing it now, but eventually, it's like my thing with social. People say they don't do Facebook, and I always kind of laugh to myself, thinking, well, you better start soon because it's not going away.
Yeah.
No, it's not going away. And again, if you don't do Facebook, I have a friend of mine who is, he's probably getting close to 70. Now, when I first learned to hand build turnouts, there was no such thing as fast tracks.
Right.
And so, he showed me how to build these turnouts, and it was a lot of work. And so I was like, wow, this is a lot of work. And so kudos to Fast Tracks making my life a lot easier. But I look at him and I said, well, you can see what's going on the layout of the Fast Tracks because I post, any time I work on something, I work on the weekends. Most of my work is done. I do 20 minutes every day to 2 hours working on the layout. And then I spend on the weekend. Saturday's my day, and I pretty much will work 6 to 8 hours on the layout every Saturday. And unless grandchildren or something like that get in the, I have to do something like that. And that's how I get a layout done, right? So I post on Facebook, because I don't do a video every week. So I post on a Facebook, hey, this is what I'm working on. Hey, this is, because I'm looking for feedback. What do you guys think? Does it look right? Does it look goofy? Different things like that. And then 2, one of the greatest modeling tools is a camera. If I take the picture, I can see what it looks like, and I go, that looks good, that looks bad.
Yeah.
Well, I've already taken the picture. I might as well share it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love that attitude. I love that attitude. That's what it's all about. You've already taken the picture. Might as well share it. You know,
So, take it for what it's worth. That's all I do is just basically take that photograph, see if it's going to be worthwhile, and then if it's good, then I go. That's all I do. And sometimes, like I said, that's how George came up with the idea. Hey, wouldn't it be great if he could do the actual street run in Longmouth?
Yeah, exactly. Because people give you other ideas.
Yeah, why can't I do that?
Yeah.
I've got 20 feet. Let's think of this through a bit.
And the only thing people need to understand too is making a video is a fair amount of work.
Oh, it is.
So people need to be cognizant of that. It's the podcast is easier than the video because it's only audio. So I mean, I listen to it while I'm driving around or walking around. But making videos is a fair chunk of work.
Well, you've done video work yourself, and you've got a lot of lighting issues you've got to concern. Hey, am I speaking? Am my mic clear? Is my video clear? Am I in focus? Am I out of focus? Am I even? And then somewhere in the midst of it, and it's a one-man show for me. I've got to be the photographer, the editor, and the host.
Yeah.
It's not an easy task, and then somehow I've got to figure out how to make it comprehensible.
Yeah, well, and some of our avid listeners are disappointed there's not more podcasts, and well, if we could get the Patreon people up to 1,000 people, 1,000 subscribers, well, then we'd have some money to hire some editors and hire people in the background, and all I'd have to do is talk. I mean, everybody's pretty much a one-man show, but that's the hobby. The crazy part is, this will be my last thing, and then we'll stop because you tricked me into doing an hour, which
the idea was good. The execution came out a little flat.
Well, we did.
Let's say the idea was good, but the performance was as usual.
Yeah. Although, exactly. What was I going to say now? I can't remember. It was good too. I can't remember. We were talking about audio and podcasts and, oh yeah, I know some people, some avid listeners would like more stuff, and there's no lack of stuff to talk about, but there's a fair amount of work to do it. It's like working on a model railroad. Sometimes you don't want to, you don't feel like doing it, but the hobby, because of the way it's connecting so many people. So that's what always drives me to keep going, because people are out there listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus the fact you have a life and there are other things you do.
Exactly. It's not that exciting, but I do have a life. That's the great thing about doing the hobby of model railroading offers so much to so many people. And now in the last 5 years, with the advent of social media, or 8 years or whatever it is, it has expanded what was already a great hobby into a much better hobby, because there's even more ways to stay in contact and more ways to communicate with fellow modelers. And I said on some podcasts at some point, I think model railroaders as a whole are just good people. I think generally model railroaders are just a good section of the human race, because they've decided to be model railroaders. They don't hide it. They embrace the hobby. It's not the coolest hobby on the world. We're not building, 32 Ford street rods. It's not like the girls are going to come running to us because we have a really cool, layout. It's just not that kind of.
Well, speak for yourself.
I was going to say, I don't know what you're talking about. I got them flourishing all over the place.
Well, I think generally model railroaders are just better, are not better. I think model railroaders in general are just a good segment of the population, of the human race.
Yeah, we live longer too.
Yeah, they're flogging that.
I heard that somewhere. And because of it, I've reconsidered the hobby a bit.
Yeah, that's when I was during the NMRA episode 83, and somebody who will remain nameless, the president of the NMRA, says, and we live longer too. And I was this close to saying, oh, come on, give me a break here, will you? like I get you're pushing the hobby and want everybody to join, but come on, give me a break.
Well, it might be a true statistic, but because of that, I decided I'd smoke my pipe a few more times quicker when I'm out in the shop.
Yeah, and for me, I thought, well, maybe I don't always have to observe the speed limit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, I don't know that I want to live to be as old as some of you folks in the hobby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're not somebody. The post, Gord Robinson from the British region posted on Facebook. He just dull coded his phone.
That's the.
All right. Okay.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. All right, Bruce. Give out our email address, please, and thank you.
Our email address, in case you want to come into this fad of we've just been talking about, of instant connection with model railroaders around the world, and particularly a Modeler's Life podcast network. Modeler's Life, modelers with one L, modelerslife@gmail.com.
And we have a website called amodelerslife.com, which is very similar to gmail.com, but it's different. It's
yes.
It
has an A in front of it.
Exactly. amodelerslife.com. And if you go there, there's the links and buttons and stuff and all kinds of stuff to look at. And I think that's it. I think we've talked to Mike Deverell has talked to us for hours.
Yep.
Hours and hours. This has been so much fun. It's so much fun to be connected to. Like that's one thing I wanted to say earlier. This is the best example, one of the best examples of what this new digital age has done for model railroading. I remember Andy Dorsch says to me, with this podcasting or with being able to talk to people before you see them, it's like removing first date jitters. Like if I showed up at your house this Saturday, Mike, I said I was coming over and you said, come on by. There'd be none of that getting to know each other. We already know each other.
I'd have the scotch ready for you already.
Exactly.
Perfect.
But I mean, and it requires, audio requires a little bit more attention. You got to listen. There's no picture to look at. And I mean, it removes the first jitters.
Easy for you to say.
Which I'll end on this note. Talking about first dates reminds me of those two knuckleheads in Green Bay who insisted they don't have to get their wives flowers for Valentine's Day. I don't want to mention any names, but one of them's Mike Ostertag and the other guy's Luke Lemons.
I will point out that if you do this enough times, you'll probably shame them into doing the right.
I'm still, well, exactly. I'll never forget. I ended up talking to both those guys last Valentine's Day, and both of them said the same thing. And I'm thinking, what is this? Some sort of thing that's sweeping through Green Bay? It's a northern Wisconsin thing. I'm like, come on, you guys. They said they don't want anything. I'm sure they did.
I guarantee you they did.
Yeah, absolutely. You apparently
guarantee you they told you that.
Yeah.
Be the secret. I've been married for 31 years now.
Absolutely. You don't have to get me nothing. Really? No.
Right.
All right. That's it. We're done. We're out of here. We're not talking anymore.
Okay.
We're finished.
All right.
No satisfaction. I can get no when I'm driving in my car and that man comes on the radio. He's telling me more and more.
Oh, can we start the podcast now?